We're joined today by Jerry Ney, a prominent Lexington citizen, who has come up with a unique idea to help promote the Lexington Police Department and the welfare of the community. Welcome, Jerry.
I'm so glad to be here, Jerry.
You are a well-known character, but why don't you tell who is Jerry Ney anyway?
Well, I guess I'm a character. I don't know if that's a positive.
That's why we invited you.
Yeah. Well, I'm a guy who came to town for 2 years in 1975. And I came to town to head up the Air Force ROTC at Virginia Military Institute. I was then in the Air Force. And I did that and was only to be here for 2 years because the Air Force then had plans for me to do other things in the Air Force. But when we came here and at the 1 year point, my 4 children and my wife turned to me and said, you know, now that you've been in the Air Force for 20 years, aren't you eligible to retire? And of course that's true, and we looked around and we saw so many people coming back here to live. We thought, well, we've moved 13 times, we might as well cut out several more moves and just retire. So I did. And one thing led to another, and I didn't know how to say no at that time. And I found myself involved in this and that and other things. And one of the things that I was involved in that sort of got me into the community spirit of doing things in Lexington. I was in the Rotary Club. Then we only had one Rotary Club, now they have 2. I'm no longer in the Rotary Club. I'm a lapsed Rotarian, as they call them. But I set up the Rock Ridge Community Festival, and that put me in contact with a lot of people, a lot of work, and a lot of doers. Golly. In fact, someone told me that when we came up with the plan of how to do it, it was like a D-Day invasion. But that's who I am, and I really enjoy philanthropic stuff, whatever that means.
Well, I've noticed that, and your name pops up when there's good deed doing. We've noticed there's a name behind it somewhere. But now tell us a little bit about the LPDF.
LPDF stands for Lexington Police Department Foundation. And in the intro, you mentioned unique, but it's not unique at all, and I think that's the strength of what we're trying to do. A police foundation is known throughout the country. There are other places that do this. And a person came to town named Cap Maddie 5.5 years ago, and he had lived in Charlottesville for many, many years. He came here to retire. And in conversation with Cap, he mentioned what a neat thing they have in Charlottesville. It's the Charlottesville Police Department Foundation. So one thing, probably the most valuable thing I learned in college was don't shade your eyes, plagiarize. So I went ahead and made arrangements for the Chief of Police of Charlottesville, Tim Longo, to come over here, meet with our Chief of Police, Steve Crowder, and Cap, and we went to the Sheridan Livery Inn. I own no stock in the Sheridan Livery Inn, but I think it's a good place to have a meeting. And we met. And we talked for a long while about how you do it. Well, it's taken 2 years to get to where we are today, because in the ensuing years, I have spoken with the judges, with lawyers, with former and current mayors, the city manager, and the city council members, and the public, Commonwealth attorney of our area, lots of people. Even went up to Charlottesville and spoke with their assistant Commonwealth attorney because he's getting in something similar to this, starting up. And by golly, this makes a lot of sense. And it makes sense from the standpoint that a police foundation, and indeed a police foundation, is really to support the police department in ways that they would like to have support, and also in ways that are in concert with the city's plan, certainly known and authorized in a way, even though we're a private foundation, by the governing body. And our city manager is well aware of this. I've briefed them all on what we're trying to do. And to this point, all these people I mentioned, not one person has put up a red flag about trying to do what we're trying to do. And one of the things that came out, and the reason it's a bit premature announcing this right now, but I'm very welcome to be here, because we attended the meeting last night and it was a work session. Not really necessarily a public hearing, but a work session, and the subject was the police department, and I certainly had interest and was there. And about the 58-minute point of the hour-long meeting, it became obvious that the police department, the governing body, and the public that was there needed some sort of assurance that something might be done quite immediately with regard to public awareness of our police department. That's probably the largest problem our police department has, is perception. And they've gotten sort of a bad rap. Indeed, there have been some situations that, you know, people are human. The mistakes are made, and maybe a few have been in the way police officers approach somebody when that has done something wrong, but nonetheless, there are many ways to approach people. But anyhow, I stood up last night and I said, hey, we've been working for 2 years to set up a police foundation. We're well along. I've got a lawyer who's going to do the work for us pro bono, and all of our corporate paperwork is done. It's ready to be put into the hopper to set up a 501c3, which is a tax-free organization, so that when someone makes a contribution towards a project, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, it will be, you know, a tax contribution, and they will get the appropriate tax letters and so on. But what we're going to try to do is respond to the needs of the police department as the department wishes, as the city manager authorizes, because the police department really works through him and known to the city council. I've had one meeting in my living room, 12 individuals, all of whom have agreed to serve on our founding board. These 12 individuals really I was very careful about how we invited people. They cut across the demographics of our area, of our city, really.
Good.
I've even got 2 individuals, one who lives just outside the city and another one who lives in the county. But from the various neighborhoods and interest, old-timers, new arrivees, that sort of thing. So,
and some young guys like you.
Someone even younger than me.
Oh.
I mean, that's amazing.
Well, that's encouraging.
That's amazing, right. But anyhow, so this organization is about to be set up, and we will be having our organizational meeting. And that's where you put a corporate papers on the table that have been massaged by your lawyer, and we've made a lot of input, again, based on Charlottesville.
Well, what kind of projects do you envision funding or becoming a part of?
It's all the above. If you were to ask all the right questions, it's going to be equipment, it's going to be program, and what would be programmatic would be maybe officers would like to attend a special course that doesn't come through the pipeline in police work, and in-kind support. And one that comes to mind, not that this would be it or one of them, but what came to my attention and was reported in the newspaper quite recently is something called a Citizen Police Academy. And that's where there's a little bit of funds needed, and it's several sessions of citizens attending this Citizen Academy, Police Academy, and they're learning how the different things are done and what kind of training the police officers go through to become a police officer. How to hold a handgun, what riding around the city at dark 30 is all about, what they have to know administratively, the laws.
That's interesting.
It's very interesting. Well, I can see where probably, with funds being as tight as they are, the city just would like to do it, but they probably won't have it in their budget for years and years and years. However, Covington has one of these things that I talked about, and it's successful. It's been going for several years, and I've read all the materials, and I think it's worthy of consideration. But if this is asked for, and it has been, it was asked for by the chief of police of the city to do this thing, and with the city manager's okay, if the police department then would